around people. We have a very optimistic view of the future, even though we have very bad news, a bleak report out of Chattanooga City Council. My analysis is extraordinarily bleak, and I think you need to understand that that we have a bleak analysis, but we are highly, highly positive and highly optimistic because we put a lot of stock in the value of the individual. That would be what you can do in spite of seeming oppressions, seeming indifference, seeming mass theft by government all around, many losses, many damages to constitutional liberties, and which I would restate that your liberties are from God, right? You have God-given liberties, and they're constitutionally guaranteed. That's the way I think is most accurately to say. You don't have constitutional rights. That's the short form, and I say it might be better to avoid the short form because it suggests somehow that your rights come from the Constitution. They don't. They really don't. They're secured by the law, right? They're secured by law, but they come from God, and it's a duty of every man to believe in God. And when wronged, or when threatened with wrong, or when seeing others threatened by abusive exercise of power, then you stand forth. You stand in front of the injury to the other, and you say, "Well, stop. We can't. We really don't like that. We really don't want that to be done against this innocent person, or this poor person, or this ignorant person." Right? Many ignorant people don't know how to defend their rights at all. They've been to public school, and they know absolutely nothing about their law, about liberty, or about even about self-government, having been deprived of the means of self-government. Now, there's an event coming up in a couple days on Saturday. It's at 10 o'clock in Dayton, in Ray County. It's the Patriotic Rally for God and Country. Patriotic Rally for God and Country. There'll be nearly a dozen speakers, including gubernatorial candidate May Beavers, Dale Walker from the Tennessee Pastors Network, and others. It's being organized by none other than June Griffin. June is 77 years old, and she's a minister in a small Protestant denomination, and she has a very strong and articulate sense of the state of liberty in Tennessee and elsewhere, and much of it's grounded on God's grace and God's providence for mankind, as secured, as she likes to say, by constitutions. Constitutions are covenants, if you will, between the people and their government. Constitutions acting to restrain the government in its continuing demand for greater authority, greater claim upon the people, claim against the people. Well, June, what is the event taking place Saturday? What's it about, and how are you involved in it?
Well, the fact is that the rally was a reaction, more or less, to the establishment of a statue to Clarence Darrow, the socialist lawyer who defended evolution in 1925. And the background of that 1925 law that was called the Butler Act. John Butler was a commissioner in Macon County, and he met a girl who had lost her faith completely in God and the Bible because she learned evolution. This alarmed him, and he said, "This can happen to my children." As a result of that, there was a law called the Butler Act passed in Tennessee, similar to 13 other states, outlawing the teaching of the lie of evolution. And that was in March of 1925. Well, immediately the ACLU raised up because their founder had said, "I will take God and the Bible out of the United States." So that was in March that the law passed, and immediately by July, they brought down Clarence Darrow, who was a socialist communist, organized the Intercollegiate Socialist Society, and he defended evolution, and the evolutionists lost. Now, during all these years, this has been established as a Bible county courthouse. Historically, it's on the historical record as such. The DAR marker out front gives the history of it. It says Scopes was convicted. So this, within the last 2 years, there was a threat or a promise, as you might call it, to put the statue of Clarence Darrow in opposition or alongside the statue of William Jennings Bryan. Now, Bryan College came from the fact that William Jennings Bryan defended creation. So this American Humanist Association, in typical form, tried to leech in on this equality, so-called, and put a statue of Darrow there. Well, I raised Cain about it because that doesn't belong there. I mean, it'd be the equivalent of putting Hitler over at the Holocaust Museum just to be equal, just so we have equal history here. So the people do not like it. It was brought before the county commission to resist it. We met absolutely stony faces. We're not interested. And they have made their plans in an act of great benevolence. The Freedom from Religion Foundation joined with the American Humanist Association, whose motto is doing good without God. And they funded the $150,000 statue with this sculptor. So they have made their plans. They have bullied their way in by threatening our county commission, our county attorney, our DA with the three little words, "We will sue," which has the entire country locked down. And we've lost our prayer and Bible reading, the Ten Commandments, and on, because we will sue. So, as a result of all this contention, and we have one commissioner, and I have to give him credit, even though sometimes we're political enemies, Bill Holland did try to get the commission to bring it up, even for a vote, to put it on the agenda. They would not. They were stony-faced because number one, the fear of a lawsuit, and number two, the hope of making this into a tourist trap. And there is a big festival planned with a play and all of that at the dedication of this monument. So as a result of my open opposition and the front page article in the Chattanooga paper, Wall Street Journal called me, and they came to our store, and they spent almost 2 hours. This is very important to the market because global warming and all of the fantastic merchantry that's involved with environmentalism and global warming depends on evolution. So they made a huge story with my picture in front of our patriotic flag. And then the Philadelphia Inquirer called. We've had other news coverages from around the country. And so in connection with the Tennessee Pastors Network, we decided to hold a rally, not only to protest the statue, which should not be there, but to have a true Independence Day commemoration to remind the people that Thomas Jefferson said, endowed by our Creator, because our founders were not stupid enough to think all this happened. So it is a big deal. And my number one contention is with the judiciary, who would allow lawyers to so scare all elected officials up and down this country into a legal contest where ultimately the taxpayer pays the bill for these lawyers because the insurance company that holds the county budget, more or less, would raise the rates because of the insurance, the lawsuit. So this is ultimately the same taxpayer issue as it was in 1776. So we are going to give strong opposition. Now, I had an atheist call me, who I put out my phone number everywhere. And believe me, you don't have any cause to be afraid to put your phone number out, because once you do that, nobody calls. So I always let people know where I am. I'm right here. You can call me. I'll talk to you. And I had this atheist call, and he had seen a picture of me to show you how very cowardly these people are. He saw people holding my grandfather's antique shotgun. And I liked it so well, and it really made me and all that. So it became my Facebook page. Well, he saw that. And I said to him, I don't know what we're going to do but there will be something done about this. And I dropped little remarks that, we're not going to put up with this. Well, he drew the conclusion that we were going to more or less shoot everybody at the dedication. And you wouldn't believe how things could get blown up over one picture. So as a result of that, I am, number one, criminal. People have threatened to turn me in, to burn the building down, other things like that. So this is a hot issue. Not only is it the statue, but Roger Baldwin, in connection with Clarence Darrow, determined to destroy God and the Bible out of the United States. And they've done a pretty good job of it. I have a map of the United States that has 2 states that are chalked in solid that have laws protecting creation: Tennessee and Louisiana. No wonder we have children who do not have any faith in God.
This is David Tulis. We're talking with June Griffin. June, your event is Saturday. That's the 1st of July. Of course, the 4th of July is a national holiday. That's Tuesday. Some people will be working on Monday. Some people will be taking long vacations. The event that you've got going in Dayton is at the town square. Is that right? And mention briefly
at
the
the
time.
Courthouse. Mm-hmm.
At the courthouse. And mention briefly some of the speakers, please.
Well, of course, you mentioned Senator May Beavers. Judd Matheny is a state representative. There's Larry Tomczak, who is he's called a cultural commentator. Steve Warren, evangelical and a patriotic singer. He imitates Elvis Presley in an evangelical way. Jim Maddox, he is he has memorized the Declaration of Independence. So he comes in with a 3-cornered hat and actually recites the Declaration of Independence. It's wonderful to hear him. David Crow is he's the head of Restore America. Of course, Dale Walker is president of Tennessee Pastors Network.
So there'll be
Rudy
several.
Collins, the National Center for Life and Liberty. Lyden Allen, who is head of Total Victory. Dave Kistler is head of Hope to the Hill Ministries. And we have some other surprises that I'm not going to bring up.
June.
But it'll be, this is not a party. This is pretty serious stuff that our people do not realize. The law is ingrained in the Bible.
This is David Tulis, and we're talking with June Griffin. June is organizing an event that will be Saturday at 10 o'clock in Dayton. June, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much. We've been hearing about June Griffin's organization of this event in Dayton, and want to mention, if you're just joining us, that Chattanooga yesterday voted against the internet. It is erecting a wall a Beijing wall, a digital wall, around a part of the local economy, and that is the sharing economy in short-term housing rental, vacation rental, that involves at least 600 people in Chattanooga. About 9 in 10 are doing it regardless, in disregard of the current ordinance, which requires that people who have an Airbnb connection petition the Planning Commission for rezoning in R3 or R4. Most people have not bothered to do that. So there is a sense of liberty. It's very favorable that people are ignoring the rule as it was, or the rule as it is now. That rule will be changed in October. Now there are at the meeting yesterday there was not a strong by anybody except me. Nobody defended the principle of the free market except David Tulis, your host. Now, here's a comment from a young woman. Her name is Olivia Karavatakis, who oversees a Facebook group of Airbnb hosts. And here's her take on the.
Here's the young woman who's in charge of the Airbnb member on Facebook. Host members on Facebook. What is your name and what happened today?
Hi, my name is Olivia Karavatakis, and we were, I guess, successful in some ways that we were able to get the ordinance passed through the first reading. We were unsuccessful in other ways in getting some languages tweaked in an alternative ordinance, and also we were unsuccessful in getting exceptions to the map during this session, but we do know that the ordinance is going to come back for review in a year, and so within that year's time frame, hopefully we'll be able to get more hosts that are outside of the allowable boundary together and move forward with amendments to allow more people to operate. But at least we're moving forward in a positive direction, all in all, so that more people can become legal, because a lot of people are illegal because of all of this is going on. It's been, no one wants to get compliant because we never knew what was going to happen. And so at least we have avenue for getting compliant. And then
this is Olivia Karavatakis, who oversees a closed Facebook page for Airbnb hosts.
The next step is expanding the map and editing some of the language in the ordinance to allow hosts more flexibility.
So there are some poor people in Glenwood who are excluded, and they're just sort of in the dark, right? They're not going to be able to participate at least for a year, because they're outlawed.
Yes. So what that guy said was true and was false. He kind of got a little bit wrong. Councilwoman Coonrod really did.
She's referring here to John Mueller, whom you heard quoted as saying that the Glenwood move against Airbnb was sort of shanghaied by two neighborhood association overseers without the consent of the majority.
Reach out to everyone in District 9, and it wasn't just two people that were against it. It was the neighborhood itself was against it largely. So there was plenty of notification on the Glenwood folks, and it's just as unfortunate that he didn't hear about it. But I'm in Highland Park and I heard about it, so I know that there are enough people that heard it. But step one, baby steps. Step two is let's try to get everyone included in the district.
Thank you so much, Olivia.
This is David Tulis, and we're hearing a snippet from an interview with Olivia Karavatakis. And the council indeed voted 7-1 against the internet economy, the sharing economy, which is comprised in this housing sector of people who are part of the Airbnb network. There are others like it that enable people from faraway places in other countries, right, wearing other clothes, speaking other languages, to come to Chattanooga and live while they're here, or stay while they're here in private dwellings. This activity is viewed as illegal, and the city is pinching the consciences and pinching the free will of, I would say, hundreds of people outside the district. Now, this plan will be reviewed in a year. So for a year now, people will sit silently. They will grumble. If they operate a sharing economy house for rent anywhere, the city surveillance apparatus overseen by Donna Williams in the hilariously misnamed Economic Development Office of Mayor Andy Burke will find out about these people and commence enforcement actions if they do not respond to cease and desist letters from the city attorney's office, Wade Hinton. The act that was passed yesterday is illegal. It's unconstitutional. It denies people who are a hearing. They don't have a hearing. They cannot make a petition. They are simply told, you are under the prohibition and you cannot have any life at all in this part of the global intergalactic internet economy, which is the sharing economy in short-term vacation rentals. It is arbitrary because, as I pointed out to the city council when I took the mic for a moment, that it is arbitrary and capricious to put a line on a map that would divide, say, me from you, my listener. You are within their hallowed district, and you, by license, can exercise the liberty of renting out your home, whereas I, outside the district, cannot. And because we are in like legal situation, it is an arbitrary division. I can't do it, and you can. That simply is untenable. And yet Wade Hinton, who seems to be the heart and soul of the city council and the real authority there among these elected council members, allows this pretense to go forward. Maybe no one will challenge it. Maybe there will be a challenge. It is unconstitutional and it is illegal. It is illegal to make an arbitrary distinction like that without warrant and without any kind of due process here. You have a procedural right to due process. You, my listener, if you are in this, if you want to have an Airbnb house and you're outside the district, you need to sue. It is simply untenable, and people need to fight. They need to fight, and they need to have equity. Equity is something the city council has disregarded in the passage of this ordinance yesterday. Find out more about it. Go to the website for The Man Who Matters, the one that has the true analysis, the true report of what happened yesterday. The leading website for The Man Who Matters, that's Nooganomics.com. This show, David Tulis Show, brought to you by Nooganomics.com. Nooganomics.com. Free subscription. Nooganomics, local economy and free markets. David Tulis, thanks for your time.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Are you looking